Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good week. Florida is getting rain. We are getting a ton of it. They say we're going to get a month's worth this week. We need it, but been crazy getting in and out of the shop, getting soaked and all that happy stuff. But I hope everybody else is having a good week so far. This is episode 49, so we got kind of our countdown to 52. It'll be, I don't know if it'll be a celebration, but it is an accomplishment, I guess, that we've been conversing through the airwaves of YouTube. So Kenny says it's sunny in the PMW. Pacific Northwest. Yeah, duh. Yeah. Cool. Well, that's good that you guys have sun. Usually you guys have rain all the time, don't you? It's always what I've always thought about the Pacific. They get a lot of, probably not storms, but a lot of drizzly, foggy type weather. My youngest daughter is thinking about trying to move out there, trying to find a job out there, so... good luck to her on that. That's not where I'd want to be. But, everybody has their place. Everybody has the place that they like to be. So, but yeah, so I think tonight we're going to kind of push on with the electrical stuff. I'm going to go ahead and show you about some crimping and stuff because I thought about it. I showed tools, but that really doesn't tell you much about it. So we went ahead and did it. So Kenny says less rain in Florida, just light rain. Okay. I guess. Hey Chris, happy you're on tonight. So yeah, I guess Kenny, it's a little bit of rain. If she moves, you can tell her where to go and not go. Okay. Well, I'll keep an eye out. If she gets she put in a couple resumes out there. I don't think any of them have come back yet. So, but I'll definitely reach out if that becomes a possibility. But Chris is, for everybody that's been following along, Chris has got his car in the tuning shop. So congrats to Chris for getting the car back together and getting to the next milestone. Now he has got a couple little things to clean up, and hopefully that car's going to be screaming here very shortly. Couple things that, I guess to catch up where we're at. So I've been working on Dave's car. I have the main wiring harness, I'll say 90% done. I still have to run the wires out to the taillights and get that done. I had to pull some of the headliner down to wire the headliner. Unfortunately, they put the headliner up with no wiring up there. So that kind of makes me wonder what the heck was going on. But anyway, it is what it is. So I was able to get it apart without tearing anything up, and so now we'll get the dome light all wired and all that, and then I'll move on to the fuel injection. So I'll get some more pictures and stuff. I'm working on that for the video. Probably maybe even insert some of the stuff that I did tonight on there. We were supposed to be running the Smurf. Actually, we were supposed to be testing tonight, and that didn't happen. Motor's not back from the machine shop yet. I believe it is on the dyno, and it should be coming any day. So I think we're moving our test session to next Tuesday, which I'll give you guys all a heads up on that. So if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get a notification. If you ring the bell, you'll get an instant notification when I drop that information. All the more reason to go ahead and subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. It's just helps show YouTube that you're a fan of the channel, and you like to watch the channel. And I don't push that stuff enough, but on the bottom of the screen, clicking the like, all those things all help the algorithm, so more people can find the channel. I do some advertising. I don't really push it that hard because I've got so much stuff going on, but If you guys do it, that'd be great. But yeah, so the Smurf is in holding pattern. I got some work done on the engine for the NASCAR. Got the short block. It came back from the machine shop, so I got the short block just about assembled. You know, a little note, I'll be honest, side note here, when you guys have projects going on in your garage and you stop and shift gears and move on to another project, maybe you're waiting on parts or something's more important, you have to get on it right away. You know, try to tag and label and everything where you're putting everything. So I got the crank in, I got all the bearings were fitted, all the cylinders were honed to size perfectly. Got all the rings file fitted. I go to put the pistons together, and I can't find the wire locks for the wrist pins. And I know I had them because I've got the part number in my blueprint sheet. So scrambled, ordered more, and today getting ready to do the little segment I made today. I found an envelope with all the wire locks in it. It's not a big deal. If I had them, I'd have had the short block finished, but it is what it is. Norb is on. Hey, Norb, how you doing? Do I crimp or solder or just crimp? I prefer just crimping. The reason I don't like solder is because it takes a lot of skill to get the joint hot enough to get the solder to fully absorb into the strands of the wire and to the connector, but not burn the wire. The other problem is when you are getting when you get the solder in, if you have the wire too hot, the solder will wick up inside the length of wire. Now you've got a piece of brittle wire that can snap off past the joint. If you can make proper solder joints, there's nothing wrong with them. But this is why the OE manufacturers crimp. And that's because when you make a proper crimp, you have a proper connection. You don't have to worry about wire degradation from heat and other things like that. So I follow what the OEMs do. I know I should, let me rephrase it. I believe in aircraft they do solder. I don't know. I'm not an AP mechanic. I know there's a lot of arguments on the internet about soldering versus crimping, and I know that, you know, I agree. Solder is when it's done right, it's a great joint, but 90% of the time it's not done right, and it's more problem than you know what it's worth. People just don't think about the solder wicking and all those things that can create more problems down the road. So that's that. So I ordered those wire locks for the wrist pins. They are coming. I found the one today, so I didn't get the motor done. Another fun thing that happened today is I got the Newman Car Creations differential for the VetHawk. So for those that have looked on the channel at the VetHawk project I'm doing, that car was an automatic chassis that I'm using, so that I had a Dana 36, which is basically garbage. I mean, it's good for a stock vehicle with a stock 250 horsepower. You put any kind of sticky tire and any kind of horsepower, you're going to have major issues with it. So there was, doing Google searching, I've heard stories of people retrofitting Gen 1 Viper differentials into the cars. You can't use the later model stuff because on the Corvette chassis, the dry shaft is the upper link for the suspension. So you have to use a diff that has a yoke on it for a U-joint. You can't use CV joints. There was some companies that were machining housings to put 12-bolt stuff in. Of course, there's, if you guys follow any of that kind of stuff, Hammerhead, there was a company called Hammerhead that was making 12-bolt rear chunks, and the guy was pretty good. He was a tool and die maker, and so his first diff was for a C3. Then he modified the case so it could be machined for a C4, and then when the 5th gen Camaros came out, he modified the case again so you could machine it for all those things. You could use it for a C5, and you could use it for the Charger Challenger. Unfortunately, that gentleman passed away a couple years ago. His son is trying to keep the company going, but I've been waiting a year to see when they were going to have some units available, and I haven't heard a word. I wasn't really hip on the 9-inch stuff, where they take a 9-inch housing and cut it off and make it short and all that. I've worked on some of those, the G4 style, and wasn't thrilled. And it seemed like a lot of weight and stuff in the car. And then I ran across these Newman car creations, which I don't remember the guy's first name, but Mr. Newman built IRS kits for C10, 55 through the Tri-5 Chevys and other vehicles, where you could put a C4 IRS into those cars, so you could do the front and rear, and you'd have a C4 chassis basically on your frame. And quickly realized that these guys are putting them in vehicles with horsepower, and they were breaking the Dana 44s. So he tooled up and made his own carrier and batwing, because his systems were already designed for the stock batwing. So he tooled up the heavy-duty batwing and stuff. Well, after a couple of years of business, a long time of business and what have you, time gets on everybody, and so he decided to retire. So those cases haven't been available for about 10 years. But on the Corvette forums, especially the drag race forums, if you wanted to say IRS, everybody said the Hammerhead or the Newman were the two cases that would work, and you could make them live, with slicks and on 9-second cars, with cars that are, in the 130, 140, 60 foot. So, they're putting a lot of punishment through them. Obviously, at some point, then the stub axles become problems, but Mark Williams makes heavy-duty stub axles, and there's quite a few people making the outer hub bearings. They're converting them to the C5, C6 platform, which have more spline, larger shaft, and they have pieces there. So that was always good, but the center case was the major issue. So I got this in the mail today. Let me get this all situated here. So this is what I got. So I on eBay, I've got all kinds of different searches saved. I get email requests every day, and one day one of these housings popped up, and the person selling them was it said Kyle M, or Kyle N, which ended up being the son of the original Newman. Kyle Newman is the son, and he said there's a handful of stuff laying around the shop, and he's decided he wants to start cleaning the shop out, what have you. So he had the carrier on eBay, and I contacted him immediately, and he said, well, I got bat wings available to you also. And so this is what they were using, and you can see Car Creations, but you can see the thickness on this bat wing. It's not a great picture, but very robust bat wing. And then here's the case with extra support and ribbing. GM in these sections of the case, for weight, they tried to make them thin, so they would crack and break and stuff, where this is very thick, and I believe it's the better casting, 358A or whatever that number is, for the better aluminum casting, like they make cylinder heads and stuff out of. Nice billet caps, all machined up real nice, everything. You can see, like, even in the flange, how thick everything is. So that was all real cool. He had a set of brand new stub axles, which these are unavailable. You cannot buy them. Not Detroit. Dana Corp quit making these. You can't buy them. Bill says, "Hey George, I lost track of time watching Six Summer." Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. Six Summer's great. I think you're on finishing up day 2. Here's the inside of the cover. Again, you can see how robust the wing, the struts are on the wing, and they built the pieces in here to put pressure against the caps. That was an issue. At one time, people were putting steel caps and reline honing the stock case, but the case would still crack. So, and there's a picture of, you can see these caps are flush along with this, along with the support. So you put that all together, and you've got all kinds of support, ARP bolts. It's just a really, really robust case. I'm glad I was able to find one. I did post it on a bunch of Corvette forums. Kyle still has, I think, 10 case carriers and like 5 bat wings, and he has a couple yokes yet. So output shafts. So yeah, so he's got that stuff. I'm glad I was able to get that, because that's been a big concern, what I was going to do with the back of the car. I mean, obviously this makes it easy. I just, build this unit up. I'm gonna probably do a 411 gear, and I want to use the torsional Dana Sure Grip Positrack, which you can get. It's the same unit for the Viper, so that's going to be a no-brainer. Nice and strong. And now basically the rear diff is going to be not a problem. I'll go ahead and make heavy-duty dry shafts with solid 1350 joints and all that, and that'll all be real good and rugged, and hopefully I can not worry about differential issues now. So real happy I got that. I kind of was not saying too much about it because I was really concerned about not getting it. I didn't want to lose that opportunity. So I'm glad it all worked out. I didn't think that Kyle was going to be an issue at all. I just wanted to make sure that I was able to get it and it was still available and stuff like that. So anyway, so that kind of catches everything up to where we're at. Let me go ahead and, so I put this little video together on crimping the tools and stuff. Somebody has a comment during it, say something, I can go ahead and stop the video. I didn't edit it much because I was running out of time, but I think it'll be fine. So anyway, here it goes. Let me know if this sounds good. Oh, there's no sound. And that would be the proper way to crimp it. No sound. I got it. Now, these are really helpful. You see that it's got a red and a blue. That's got 16, 18 on that side and 14 on this side. And this is just a straight 12, 14. So when you're making splits in your wiring harness. Let me back that up again. All right, so I just wanted to go over connector and terminals and the correct way to get the proper crimp and some of the tools that we use to remove and assemble these things. So first thing, we'll go with these open barrel. You see they got the marking that shows where the anvil has to go. So when I say anvil, this is a anvil style plier. And you see it's got the little piece in there. So when you crimp, you would have the openings or the lines, and that would be the proper way to crimp it. Now, these are really helpful. You see that it's got a red and a blue. That's got 16, 18 on that side and 14 on this side. And this is just a straight 12, 14. So when you're making splits in your wiring harness, that's where these come in real handy. So we have this purple wire. We got a good strip on it. We're going to put the terminal on, line the anvil up with the marking, give it a squeeze. And there's a proper crimp. Now we're going to put 2 wires on the coming out the other side. This one's a little long. So if you want to make a Y or something where you're putting multiple wires together, you can see that wire goes in very easy. And again, you stack the wires in the angle of the anvil for the crimp. Give it a good crimp. And again, there is a good crimp. And it makes it nice and clean when you put your heat shrink over it. As opposed to this, I'll do it with a straight butt connector. Make those the same length. So we'll get a good crimp, a good strip on these first. And I made those a tidbit long. To get the right length wire, you can always put your connector up to it and see. You can see there's going to be wire left over, so that's too long of a strip. So we shorten it up, and now the insulation will be up against the edge. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put a 2-wire crimp. And get them all in, every strand in the connector. Okay, so we got the strands in, we got the wires up against the connector. Again, we crimp at where the mark is on the connector. And once again, we've made a good connector. Now this side would be a normal blue stripe as in this one. Now, if you're going to put a single wire in here, the whole insulation and everything fits inside. So that's why the step down ones make it easy. Now we can make this work. We just have to give it a longer strip. Actually need a little more than that. So when you're going to put a small wire in a big connector, get it all rolled up, bend it over. Now you see it's tight going into the connector. Again, we'll crimp it. And we have a good 3-way splice now. Now the only downside of that is now you've got a big connector to put the heat shrink over. It's going to make a big hump in your wiring. So that's why these step connectors are so much better. All right, so most of your GM cars or older cars are going to use the Series 56 connectors, and they use a plastic connector like this. This one's a white one for a HEI coil, but they make them in all kinds of configurations, same as like your headlights and your turn signals and all that stuff. So we take usually when you get them in a kit, they're going to come on a spool wire like this. That's how they're made in the machines. So we just go in there and cut it off at the end. Take our wire, get a good strip. And once again, you use your terminal to see how long your strip has to be, and that's approximately the right. Let me get a good, approximately the right length of wire for the strip. Now for this one, we're going to use a universal five position plier. And before you start making wires for your, doing terminals for your wiring harness and stuff, you want to do a couple test pieces to make sure you get which position is correct for the wire that you're doing. So we put it in there, get the tool lined up properly over the surface, and give it a crimp. And that one wasn't the right one, so we got to use this one. That's why you want to test them to make sure you get the right position. If you get your crimp, pull on it, and there it is. So that's a proper proper crimp. Now we got to do the second piece of the crimp that grabs the insulation on the wire. And what this is more of a strain relief, so that when you're working around the harnesses and stuff, you're not going to pull the wire out. Now, this is a universal plier. This isn't made exactly for this connector, so you got to kind of help it. But there it goes. And now you have your strain relief there. So that'll keep the wire from pulling out. Now on your Series 56, you've got this little tab coming out the back of the connector. That's what holds them into the connectors. And in your connector, you have that open value. This is for a flat spade, so you see the flat spades across the top, but you got the square opening on the bottom. That's going to be where this tab lines up. So you simply push it in, and it's locked in. To get these apart, you take a sharp removal tool, go down in there, you find the little tab, you push it in, and the terminal comes right back apart again. So you can reuse these, move them, switch them to multiple, 1, 2, 3 cavity, whatever you need. And when you're going to put it back in, you just bend that tab back up a little bit, give it a little bit extra tension. So that's it. So let's do, this is a LED courtesy light. I'm putting in Dave's Chevelle. So let's go ahead and put a connector on this. On this, I'm going to use weather pack, the old school weather pack. So we put our seals on the wire. That's part of the weather pack connector. That's where it got its trademark name. Now, these LEDs are 22 gauge wire, and the connector we're going to put them in takes 16 to 18. So we're going to have to do our double up method to make the wire fit in there properly. So we have to cut a good length of wire out, twist it up, bend it over. Okay, there's one. The other side. Same thing, get the strands twisted together, bend it in half. Now they're ready to go into a bigger connector. So for the weather pack connector, we're going to use a GM Delphi tool. And these are a one-time tool, so it does both crimps at the same time. So you put your tool in it, you put your terminal in the tool, get it placed properly. You slide your seal to the edge of the wire so it's covering the insulation. Insert the wire into the spot, and then you crimp it. And you pull it all the way till it's tight, and when it releases, you made a proper crimp. And there's a proper crimp. And you see it does the wires and it does the terminal all one shot. You can give it a tug test, it's good to go. Now we'll do the other one. Same thing, we put the terminal in the tool, get it lined up. Slide our sleeve to the end of the insulation. Insert it in the tool. Give it a crimp. There we go. Another one. That's the nice thing about the proper tool for the proper crimp. Makes it easy. Now on Weather Pack, they just slide into these connectors. Nothing hard about them. You just slide them in. They've got little tabs on the sides. That's what locks them in. That's it. Now if you want to remove them, they take a little bit different tool. They take a little tube style tool. And what you do is you push the wire into the connector and push the tool down, and it lets the terminal slide back out. And when you stick it back in, just bring your side prongs out a little bit, stick it back in. And then that cover keeps the seals from backing out. So that's how you do that style connector. This is the newer Weather Pack or Delphi 150. This one's already terminated, but I'm gonna go ahead and take it apart. You just take your seal tool, pop it off, and that's how it comes apart. Now these have little tabs down inside that you have to release. So you have to stick the tool down in there like that. It's the same thing, it's just got a little tab, you feel around for it. Grab the appropriate wire, and you pull it out. And there it is. And again, there as you can see, it's the same style Delphi crimp made with a different tool. And then there is a little tab in here that you just push back out when you want to line it up, put it back in, slide it in until it locks it, and you're done. Pretty easy with the right tools. We talked about the Deutsch connectors, and a lot of motorsports, a lot of race cars, high-end stuff, they like these connectors because they're a complete barrel. There's no, you're not crimping fingers around the wire, it's a solid barrel. So on these, they're a little different. You have to use a special crimper for them. Get your wire stripped. Now on this, you use these ratcheting style tools. I don't know if you can see down there, but there's 4 little jaws in there. So you open them up, drop your terminal into the tool, put your wire in. Nope, I made that one a little long. And I could tell that the terminal was stripped too long because when I stuck it in, you could still see the strands hanging out the side of the terminal. So you know that's not right. So once you get it in solid, you just squeeze it. Again, it releases when you made a solid crimp. And now, might be hard to see. Let's see if I can get it. But there's 4 little puncture marks, actually 8 little puncture marks that grab that wire. That makes a very rigid terminal. And here's their connectors. You just push them in till it seats. And if you look down in there, there's little fingers. I don't know if you can see that, but there's little fingers in there. You just open the little jaw, and the wire will pull right back out. But that's what motorsport guys like those, because the way the crimp style is, it makes a full circle on it. So that's your basic crimps on small stuff. There are some different kind of connectors. These are like for relays and stuff, but they're still the same basic crimp. So now let me show you different stuff for bigger stuff, battery cables. Mike asked about that last time. So this is one style, and you can see on here you can rotate these around for different size fittings. And these are the ones that hexagon type crimp on the wire. I don't use this pair too much because it's a lot of work to hold everything and get a good crimp and everything. So what I did was I went to Harbor Freight and I got this tool here. Now here's your hexagon type dies. Typical for cheaply made stuff. They don't have all the proper sizes for all the different things. So for doing big cable, 1/0, 1 gauge, 1/0, 2/0, I took some old ones and I cut them apart. So I welded a piece of steel on this side and I took a Ziz wheel and cut that off. Unfortunately, my milling machine wasn't working when I did these, so I just did them by hand and are very rough. Here's another larger style pointer or anvil, and then the receiver. This one's really kind of rough, but they do work well. So let me go ahead and strip a wire here. Now on the bigger cables, it's hard to get a stripper that works right. So where's my terminal? There it is. So here's my terminal, and that gives me an idea how long my splice needs to, or my strip has to go back. So then just go in there with a razor knife. Works pretty good. Knife works all right. You do have to watch with a razor knife. If you get a really sharp one, you can cut some of the terminal, the wire. That made a good one. We didn't cut anything. It's all good. And of course, that just goes on just like that. Nothing strange about that. So now let's go ahead and put some dies in there. This is the problem. These dies are marked for 2 gauge, and this is an 8 gauge, and it's probably the proper crimp for it. So I don't know when they make these in China. They don't know our American wiring system, that they can't make the pieces the correct size. But so what you want to do, again, you never want to crimp an anvil or anything into that seam. So you put that in there like that. Pull the hydraulics up to there. Stick your wire in. Nope, got a wire straying out. And then you crimp. Now on the hexagon crimps, it takes multiple times, and this is why I don't like using the other piece, the hand ones. So once you get in there one crimp, then you got to go in a couple different directions to get it really crimped good. And that's a pretty good crimp there. There. That's going to be on there good. And if we cut this apart, you'll see that it's fused welded together. That's, it's good permanent size crimp. That's good for, like, this is actually an alternator wire, so that's what that's for. Now, like I said, the problem with this Harbor Freight deal is that that was a 6 it was a 6 gauge wire, and the crimp shoes that we used were 2 gauge. So obviously they aren't sized properly, and that's why I made these nasty homemade ones. I should go get another one of these and so I can get some more shoes and make them proper. But so this is your standard 1/0 loop, like you're going to make a battery cable. And that fits in there just like that. And that's why I like this, because I can put the terminal in there, put a little pressure on, and now it's locked in. Now it frees my other hand for holding the cable. Now we'll take our cable and we're gonna have to strip back a section. There we go. This is real fine wire, so it makes a really flexible battery cable. Take our crimper, insert it. You can see our insulation is up against the terminal, and now we crimp. The anvil style works really well for battery cables because you can get a really good crimp on it. And there you go. That thing is crimped. There's the anvil in. That's not going anywhere. You can cut that apart. It's all fuse welded. You can take your heat shrink and your we'll do some heat shrinks. I got some heat shrink with glue in it. This is actually not for the battery cable. This is for the alternator. A heat gun works the best for this, but it makes a lot of noise, so I'm going to use my butane torch. What I usually do is kind of get one section going. Of course, this thing isn't cooperating. Now I'll kind of hold it in place now so I can pull it in the rest of the way. And there you go, nice and crimped. The glue is released in there and it's gone, filled all the voids. So now it'll be very weatherproof. You know, good for like a marine application or something like that. Couple other things we talked about last week. Cable ties. We all had a good laugh about that. So I wanted to show you cable ties. So you got a bundle like that. You got a bundle like that. This is a cable tie gun. This is a plastic one. A bunch of different companies make them. They're not much. I think this was like 15 bucks. It's got a dial on the back that sets how much pressure it is. And you simply put the cable tie in there and pull it, and it cuts it and gives you a nice flush cut. So you don't have to worry about getting cut working on it. Now, if you don't have a gun, the cheaper way of doing it is using a pair of flush cut cutters. We'll put our cable tie on here. Get it good and tight. So these are our flush cuts. They're nice and they're flush on the back. So on these, you can just lay it right against the piece, cut it off, and now you've got a cut-free. You can rub your hand on that. It's not gonna. You're not gonna get cut. Same as that one there. If you cut them with it hanging off, it's like a razor blade waiting for you to put your arm anywhere near it so it can slice you open. So that's pretty much everything I just wanted to show on the different connectors and stuff. You guys have any questions? I think we covered most of this stuff for this portion anyway. And then I guess next week we can go into more circuits and stuff if you want to do that. Just leave leave something in the chat, or leave a comment in the bottom, and we'll work on next week going into doing that for the show. All right, so I see John came on while I was showing that video. So hey, John. So I hope that gives you guys some ideas on the different tools and how to crimp. I thought about that as like, it's easy to show the tools, but if you don't know how they work, it could make it confusing. Norbs is right. The Deutsch stuff is a little pricey. It has come way down. I remember about 15 years ago, I bought a pair of crimpers for the Deutsch. It was a universal kit, so it would do 3 different sizes, where now the ones I have now, each pair of crimpers are for a certain size. But the universal one I bought a number of years ago was about $450 for that connector. The kit that I showed last week, let me pull that picture up. But this is a really affordable kit. Let me try to keep talking while I'm doing this. But I gotta put my glasses on. Sorry, guys. That kit has them in there, so it makes it pretty affordable. I think that kit was $150, and it does multiple different wires. In fact, the red and black universal ones I was using, that was from that same kit. Here it is. Let me switch screens again. Hang on a second. So this is the kit made by Tool Aid, Master Terminal Service Kit 18700. You can buy these on Amazon, and that's the kit. So you got your 3 different size Deutsch connectors. You got a weather pack release tool. You got some Deutsch release tools, and 2 pair of crimpers. This is for your Delphi with the rubber insulator, with the rubber seal, and this is the other style. And these will work on 90% of the connectors you have to make. All your series 56, 59. You just have to test them to figure out, because it's not labeled for all those different kind of connectors. So you got to kind of mess with it to find which ones work properly. So those work out real well, and those cut down the price. You can get Deutsch connectors that are crimp style, but I mean that defeats the whole reason of using the Deutsch connectors. But yeah, the actual terminal, not terminal, the gray sealed connectors, they get pretty expensive, because you got a seal, you got the body, and then you've got a insert that goes in that holds all those release fingers from releasing. So there's 3 components you have to buy to make one connector. But they do work really well. But obviously most of your fuel injection system, like Norb knows, he's messed around with the Excel stuff over the years and the Holley stuff. So they use the Delphi, either the old school weather pack or now the 150 series and the 280 series and stuff like that. And like we discussed last week, the different style or different size connectors are all on how much amperage the terminals can withstand on continuous use. So it's the whole thing when you're figuring out, if you're buying a wiring kit to do your main 12-volt wiring, your headlights, taillights, instrument, air conditioning, accessories, stuff like that. Mainly, most of those kits are going to give you Series 56 and Series 59 for your headlights. It's a bigger, higher amperage terminal. This kit would work fine for that. And if you want to get into more EFI stuff, then you're going to have to move into some of this other Delphi and Deutsch to depending on what brand ECU you're working with. Like a Motec, you're going to get all Deutsch. Haltech is quite a bit of it is Deutsch. So, it just depends on what you're using. Do your research before you buy your tooling, and then you can go ahead and do that. Get that stuff. So I'm gonna look into seeing what we'll get into next on the wiring. I'll have some pictures of the main harness and Dave's car done, so I can get you some pictures of that stuff. And then I don't know if you guys want to know about switches and circuits. I mean, we went over to relays before. A lot of that stuff is all kind of the same. It's maybe boxed differently, whether it's a solid state relay, a regular relay, a heavy amperage duty cycle solenoid, which is still just a large relay. So that's all kind of the same stuff. We did touch down on diodes and stuff, but I can go farther into that, or maybe we'll just go ahead and move into fuel injection for the next show. I will put out notifications during the week if we do get the engine in for Smurf, and I'm going testing next Tuesday. I'll put notifications, and I'll still do a little live thing from the track, but we'll postpone the continuation. Oh, hi, honey. We'll suspend or push back the rest of the wiring stuff till the next week when I can get some stuff on there. So, like I said earlier in the show, Norm said, yeah, like everybody. O2 sensor ground offsets. Yeah. Yep. Okay. We can work on that. I'll get some information on that stuff. So we'll do a little circuit deal before we get into the EFI stuff. Although O2 ground offsets is EFI, but we'll get into some of that stuff. So like I said at the beginning of the show, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, ring the bell, and if you're subscribed, you'll get a notification. If you ring the bell, you get instant notification. So like I said, I'll drop some hints during the week of what's going to happen for next Tuesday. Norm says, the offsets on aftermarket O2 gauges. Yep. So we'll work on that stuff. I know Norm and I have talked back and forth a bit on the Excel Facebook group with trying to get these guys some wideband sensors, because obviously the Excel stuff has all been discontinued years ago. So we're working on that so that people can get an alternate system that works nowadays that they can put in with their EFI, so they can do tuning and stuff. Without wideband, you really you just can't pull plugs all the time trying to do tuning. It takes lots of spark plugs and a lot of time. So wideband definitely speeds that setup, the tuning time way up, makes it way quicker. So but yeah, that's hopefully that was useful. I mean, I'm sure some of you guys, you've made wiring, so that's not a big deal. But trying to make it so everybody can move forward on their knowledge on wiring, and hopefully make this not so scary. It is time. It does take a lot of time, and it takes a lot of planning, but it's no harder than the actual doing the job. Actually is no harder than putting a set of headers on or changing a camshaft or anything else. It's just it's just not nuts and bolts. It's a lot more planning, a lot more reading. You need to read instructions of all the components you're putting together, and then you have to think a little bit about how the integration is going to work. But typically most of your integration is going to be power and ground and switch powers. So and then the rest of the wires of each component will actually go to those components. So the integration side is more just power and ground for most stuff. So that's that's what that stuff goes into. So with that, I think I guess the rain stopped. It's not. I don't hear the rain on the building, and the wife walked in the shop. She wouldn't have came out with the rain. So the wife is home. So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off tonight here. Thank you all for watching. I saw on the line that it was buffering for a little bit. I apologize about that, but with all the rain we're getting, I'm sure Xfinity is messing with the transmission speeds. Hopefully it wasn't that bad. Hopefully you guys could still understand what I was trying to show. And I really appreciate everybody logging in and spending your time watching me babble. And hopefully you're getting something out of it to make it worth your while. That's my main goal, is that everybody can learn, and me too. I'm always learning myself. So that's my whole. I don't know if it'd be a mantra, but it's my whole thing. Every day I want to learn something. That's what I try to do every day. No matter what it is, I want to learn something every day, and add it to the toolbox of whatever I already know. So anyway, like I said, I hope everything, hope it was good, and we'll put some more stuff together. I'll let you guys know what's going on for next Tuesday night. It may be live from Orlando Speed World, hopefully, because we're supposed to be going to a race on the 21st. So we need to get that car together and making some laps on it. So with that, I think I'll tell everybody good night, and you guys have a great week, and I will see you all. I'll see you all next week, and we'll do this all again. So with that, see ya.